Hey everybody, welcome back to Munro Live. Today we have the Lexus RZ 450e Direct 4, essentially the all-wheel drive version from Lexus. It's EV, and man, what am I saying? I gotta redo that. Hey everybody, welcome back to Munro Live. Today we're going to review the Lexus RZ 450e, which is an electric vehicle from Lexus. Toyota is a parent company, obviously. This thing is equipped with 71.4 kilowatt hour battery pack, which gets you about 220 miles of range. If you have the 18-inch wheels, if you have the bigger wheels, it ends up being 196 miles of range. Just over 300 horsepower, 0 to 60 in 5 seconds. But we're going to review my first impressions. So I'm a big fan of Japanese vehicles. There's no mystery that I loved my Nissan Maximas, the 3rd gen ones that I owned and drove for the better part of a decade. So when I get behind the wheel of any Toyota, whether that's a Corolla, a Camry, a RAV4, or even a Lexus, I love the feel. They have really refined the fit and finish and the ergonomics. They do the big boy things right. The things that an EV startup may struggle with, Toyota gets perfectly right. So I had a chance to drive this thing yesterday, and the road feel was amazing. One thing I didn't like was the high belt line. Notice how small this window is. It's very, very tiny and have a very high belt line. When I was driving, I got the feeling, when I looked to my right, that the door panel, that there was something there, because instead of seeing the glass, I ended up seeing the top two-tone panel there. The color and the styling is fine for me. It looks like a Lexus. Normally Lexus has a really aggressive grille. They've grown to having these huge grills, but because this is an EV, you see a lack of a grille. They only have a small opening down below. A few people at Munro said that based on this color, it's kind of a shark skin color, a blue. Kind of looks like a shark that's being squeezed a little bit. I did get a couple people looking at me driving around yesterday, but there were mostly people driving older Lexuses. Someone driving I think a 470 SUV and someone driving an older Lexus 300. They did like a double take because there's not very many of these on the road. This is a very early VIN, so we received this as a press vehicle. It's got an M plate, 000169. So that'll tell you how early it is in the build process. So early that the right sun visor actually says pre-production prototype, but really this is a production intent build. It's not like a prototype. A prototype would actually have a red button inside. A lot of piano black on the outside. I'm only going to say piano black twice. There you go. But you can see it here on the fenders, down below the door. This is very similar to what we see on the Mustang Mach-E. Conveniently, we have a Mustang Mach-E right over there. And you can see similar features with the piano black on the bottom of the doors, the lower portion of the front fascia, and some of the trim around the pillars, the mirror, and then the back swoop over there. Here, instead of the roof line being black, starting here, they have a black insert in between to give you that floating roof. I think that this vehicle is not quite big enough for me. I drive a big SUV. If you watch the channel, you know you've heard that a million times. But in the rear, I do like the fact that when this lifts up, the sunshade is soft. It's soft, it's not hard, and it splits in the middle. So there's some compliance. So if you I put a bag in here that's actually too tall, and a lot of these package shelves are rigid. And so as you close it, it actually is able to pop up to allow the compliance for my larger items. I found that rather convenient. Large amount of storage underneath where the charge cable is, and it flips up. You have even smaller compartments up there. So the best part about having an EV is you have an amazing amount of storage. There's a tool kit, and then on the right side you have your spare tire inflator kit. And if you walk around to the right side, now that we're in the sun, you can see this paint color. I really like it. Fit and finish is impeccable with any Toyota product, or actually any established OEM. It's something that's a non-issue. They're going to nail the build quality really from the beginning. They have really established processes. Even though this is an EV, it still has traditional door handles, but one thing that I really liked was how the doors open from the inside. So when you grab them, the handles don't actually move. They have a small button and they're electronic release. But notice the door right here. You have this lever, but when you're sitting in there, what I really like is it's intuitive. Some vehicles, it's not intuitive as to where the handle is. You reach in and you have to lift some awkward cup or whatever. But when you put your hand on here, your thumb, you just press, and that's what opens the door. But then there's also an emergency. You pull this twice. It says 2 times, 1, 2, to open the door in case you lose power. So the same lever, which you just heard it open the door, is what you would grab and pull twice to release in case you lose power to get out. I really like that feature. Another feature I'm going to show, Grace, stay here, I'm going to go around, is the center console. So the center console, if you've ever driven in a German vehicle, they oftentimes have a split center console to allow you to not fight with your significant other. Because when you're driving down the road and you have your elbow here, or the passenger has their elbow here, and you want to get in here, you have to shoo your wife or your girlfriend or your mistress off, and so that you can open the the center console. And typically it hinges in the rear. So if you click here, this hinges from the side. And when I was first driving this, I said, oh, this is nice because it is tailored to me. And with the fact that it rotates this way, if there was an elbow here, you would just politely slide the person off versus having to fight the leverage of lifting them up. And then I needed to grab some paperwork out of here as I was looking for the Munro sheet. You can do it from the other side. So there's this really kind of cool double hinge back here that allows you to open it from either side. But obviously, not both at the same time. That would be pretty cool if you were able to grab here and actually lift it up that way. They could probably get one more feature in there, but I really like that because I hate the style of a split, especially if your arm slides over. So this is a really nice HMI, human machine interface feature. Another thing I noticed, USB-C only. I think it's crazy that some vehicles are still being sold with USB-C and USB-A. Also a nice spot to charge your phone right here. The screen itself is really high quality compared to some other Toyotas I've seen. Another thing that is kind of odd to me is when you turn this vehicle on, the knob right here is really intuitive to grab for your HVAC. So you have the display of your temperature right there. I really love it. But then there's this other knob over here for your passengers. So it's kind of like, okay, you give a knob to each, the driver and the passenger, to control their temperature. But look at this, the volume doesn't have the same chrome accent. It's all black. And if you're driving right here, it almost blends in with the frit of the screen. And it's like tiny. Like, look how easy it is to grab this or move this. Very nice, easy target. And then this is like trying to pull a needle out of a haystack. So I'm driving down the road and I'm like, trying to change the volume up and down. Kind of awkward. It's almost like, hey, just put a third wheel there and change the graphics in the screen. Another thing that was a little awkward as I'm driving, I'm trying to select radio stations, and I prefer Sirius XM. So I click Enable Audio, and there's your Sirius XM channels. But to find a channel, I thought this was how you type it in. It's not. In order to type in a channel, you have to, I don't even remember. It was very difficult for me to figure it out. I still don't know. And I had to do essentially a manual search to my favorite channel. So I thought this was it. I click on this. It's not. This is where you get to your frequently used things, which is your range mode. So there's no easy way that's obvious to me into how to change from drive mode range, drive mode normal, drive mode sport, and eco. I find that kind of confusing because this to me looks like how I would actually select the Sirius XM, where you type in channel 90 or channel 52. There also is the steering wheel, which has haptic feedback It's not haptic, it's where you put your finger on it and it actually pops up on the screen. Even though there's 4 generic arrows, it changes based on what you're doing. So this shows your follow distance is the left arrow, the mode is the bottom arrow, and then these 2 are blank, believe it or not. And then this button and this button. When I put my finger on it, it senses my finger and shows that I'm getting ready to select it. But unless I actually push, it doesn't actually select it. So this is kind of a nice feature that all of these buttons on the steering wheel sense my finger and then put up a display. So I found this to be, pretty nice. Plus the steering wheel feels amazing. Some steering wheels are so hard, the grain is horrible. This almost has like a velvety feel. So typically I don't do this in-depth HMI review, human machine interface, but I really like the steering wheel. I like these buttons, and I know we're getting away from buttons. And the last thing is, when you drive the Ford, there's a shift knob right here, and it just rotates. You rotate it all the way to the right, it goes to drive. You rotate it all the way to the left, it goes to park. Then you have to carefully notch it to go to neutral or to reverse. This, in order to put it, you can't move it at all unless you push it down, and then to the left for reversed, down to the right for drive, and press the P for park. I almost wish they would move the P right into the center of this, but then I guess you may interfere with it when selecting. The first time I used it, I thought it was kind of weird, but it really inspires confidence in whether you're in reverse or drive, and it's kind of nice. Takes up a tremendous amount of room though, so a lot of other OEMs are putting their shift mechanism up on the stock. It's not the case here. Also, when I got in, first time driving the vehicle, I'm looking for the power button. Typically it'll be around here. Can't see it. It's up here. So it's within vision, but it's in a place that isn't typical, being so high. And I'm 5'10", I used to be, and my arms are long. I have long arms, and if I was short and little, like Grace, I don't think my arms could reach it. You actually have to lean forward to touch the power button. And there's the power button. But so far, I mean, I like this, but is it class leading from a range perspective? No. Is it class leading? Is it class leading from a battery size or an efficiency perspective? No. Is it an adequate vehicle to drive around town and take some road trips? Yes, of course. And I know people are saying Toyota and Lexus are, really far behind and way late in the game, but this thing operates in a similar manner to other traditional OEM vehicles. So the VW ID4, the Mach-E, the Toyota BZ4X, many of the Nissan products like the Aria and what's the other ones we just looked at? Yeah, the Aria, they kind of fit in this class. The vehicle is in that CUV size. It's not too big, it's not too small. The really weird high belt line kind of, throws me off a little bit. It's not quite an SUV, still retains somewhat of an aerodynamic shape. But so my first impressions are good overall, because Toyota always does the basic things right. The fit and finish, the human-machine interface, the nice touches there. And by the way, the stereo system sounds phenomenal. In a Lexus product, you're getting a price point $59,000 to $70,000 for this. I think 59 to 70, something around there. The stereo system, I forget, there's some branded name, sounded really amazing. The adaptive cruise control also worked very well. Similar to Blue Cruise for Ford, but you have to have your hands on the wheel. I didn't put it on the freeway, but I did do it on a couple side highways. So I guess this wraps up my first impressions of the Lexus RZ 450e. Kind of a mouthful to say the name, and that's Lexus's MO. It's the RZ, it's the LC, and they always have like a 3-digit number, the 450, the 350, the 300, the 250. But this is the RZ 450e. Do I recommend going out and buying one now? No, but if you're a Lexus lover or a Toyota lover, I think it's a nice way for you to dip your toe into the EV space. But until we get some more information on this vehicle, that's all I have for now. And we have a couple more videos coming with most likely a hoist review, and we'll pop the hood and see what's under the hood to see if there's a frunk or not. Spoiler alert, there's no frunk, but we'll be able to give you some more feedback on what we see. So thanks for watching Munro Live. I really appreciate everybody. Have a nice day.